Hello, my name is Tara Bebrick, and this mini documentary is part of my Girl Scout Gold Award project called Sleep is for the Strong, which focuses on spreading awareness on the importance of sleep. My project is especially focused on teenagers who I've noticed often do not get enough sleep. In this mini documentary, I interviewed two professionals in the field of sleep medicine, Dr. Deborah Goss from Hackensack Sleep and Pulmonary Center, and Suzanne Pearson from the Valley Hospital Center for Sleep Medicine. I was lucky enough to get a tour of both of these sleep labs. Here is an example of the type of room you'd be staying in if you were to visit a sleep center. The sleep specialists place wires on you before you go to sleep, and then they can monitor your sleep patterns in a room like the one pictured here. So if you ever have any issues with sleep and want to have your sleep patterns monitored to see what the cause may be, then I highly recommend either of those two facilities, Hackensack Sleep and Pulmonary Center or the Valley Hospital Center for Sleep Medicine. So without further delay, here are the interviews from my project. Are there biological reasons that influence why teens may have trouble falling asleep and waking up at certain times of the day?
Yes, there are a lot of changes that happen when you go from child to teenager to young adult to adult. The circadian rhythm is generally the same for everyone. When the sun goes down, you get sleepy, you go to sleep. When the sun comes up, you feel more wakeful and you're ready to start the day. The difference is the time of sleep that you need. Kids can get away with a little bit less sleep than teenagers. Teenagers need a longer duration of sleep and total sleep time. And then adults, it gets less again. So, and babies obviously need the most. They're sleeping almost as long as they're awake. So babies sleep night and day. Then you come into the toddler years where there's less napping in the daytime and more nighttime sleep. Then you hit the childhood years where there's actually less sleep at night. And then when you come to the teenage years, you need a longer duration of sleep at night, partly for the growth and the hormonal changes. Just like how babies have a lot of growth, they're undergoing a rapid growth phase, they need a lot of sleep and a lot of wake. The teenagers are again hitting another rapid growth phase, so they need a longer sleep time. And then when you hit young adult, it drops again, and then it picks up again in adulthood, and then it drops again. It does vary by age.
Yeah, and yet it seems that teens get, at least they get about the same amount of sleep as children or less, unfortunately.
There are reports that teens do that, although it's very hard to measure because teens don't do a regular sleep schedule. Teenagers can sleep till noon, 1, 2 o'clock on weekends. Adults can't do that. So they try to make up for their lost sleep on the weekend that they haven't gotten on the weekdays, so they can get enough hours to do the growth that they need. So they may not get more sleep on a regular weeknight or especially on a weekend night, but then they get more daytime sleep.
How does technology affect sleep?
Technology in and of itself would not affect sleep at all. It's the light that gets emitted by the technology. So the fact that you're using a computer all day long probably wouldn't affect you much, but when you start using it in the evening hours, when you're not supposed to be exposed to light, it's supposed to be dark, that is what makes the change for sleep. And in particular, it's a blue wavelength. Your eyes are specifically sensitive in the circadian centers for blue. So that particular wavelength tells your body it's time to be awake. So there are actually some jobs that do shift work that require people to use computers and light equipment and things like that, and they will have difficulty sleeping. And some places are marketing glasses that will block that particular waveform so that they can put those glasses on, do the work they need to do, and then still be able to sleep when they're trying to sleep. So most cases we tell people, look, there's 2 reasons not to be texting on your phone when it's time for bed. One is that instead of winding your brain down and telling it's time to rest, you're doing an activity that requires you to be alert. You have to think, you have to work at it, you're telling your body, you know what, I need to be awake, I need to be awake, I need to do this. So that's one problem. The second problem is you're getting that blue light, and the blue light's going to keep you more awake. So 2 reasons not to do it.
How does diet and exercise affect sleep?
Exercising late in the day, after dinner time, can lead you to be more alert because your body thinks it has to do flight or fight or flight. It has to run. It has to get away. It has to rev itself up. So it will release hormones to allow you to do that, so that you can increase your heart rate, you can increase your respiratory rate, your muscles get more of a blood supply. So by exercising, you're telling your body, it's wake up time. I need to run. The tiger's coming. I got to get away.
Yeah.
So you're revving your body up. And that is not easy to turn off. Hormones, once they're made, will last in the body for hours to days. So when you suddenly send an epinephrine rush or a runner's high through your system, then your body, it's alert, and it thinks it needs to be alert because it thinks there's danger. People don't, in the evolutionary sense, you don't run because it's fun to do, you run because something's chasing you. It's a predator-prey, I've got to get away. So your body thinks it needs to be alert, and it will do everything it can to rev you up, including your brain. I need to stay awake, there's danger, I have to get away. So exercising too late promotes that, because your body doesn't understand, oh, it's just exercise to keep me healthy. I'm not running from any tigers. It doesn't understand that. It only knows its innate sense. By the same token with food, food is something that we do during the daytime, and when you eat at night, then you're telling your body, oh, it's daytime, it's time to eat. So you're again releasing hormones and chemicals that are telling the brain it's time to be awake. So you're much better off having a light meal at night, and you're much better off exercising in the morning if you can. And some of my patients with severe insomnia, I'll just tell them, look, if you want to exercise, it's in the morning before work. You know, they can't even tolerate an afternoon session.
Wow.
So most people are unaffected, but people with sleep problems are very sensitive to those things, to the cues, the body cues.
Diet and exercise, very important. Diet, especially what you eat, is going to make you sleepy during the day. So if you eat real sugary foods, your glycemia, high in the if you eat sugary foods, basically your blood sugar spikes and then crashes.
Yeah.
So it's going to make you sleepy. So eating healthy and a balanced diet is really important. Bedtime snack is okay. You know, you don't want to eat a real heavy meal right before bed, because obviously if you eat a real heavy meal right before bed, it's going to disrupt your sleep. You definitely want to avoid caffeine. A lot of people, when we say caffeine, think coffee, or but caffeine's in everything. You know, in sodas and teas, and you know, some of the drinks that you drink during the day. So you want to be careful. That will affect your sleep. So that's one thing in the diet you want to avoid. And then exercise. Definitely, if you exercise, it's important to exercise earlier in the day if you can help it. You don't want to get your adrenaline and get your blood going, you know, up real high right before bedtime. You want to be unwinding towards the end of the day. So it's very important to exercise. As far as sleep goes, it's better to do it earlier in the day.
What should a teen do if they struggle to get enough sleep because they have too much to do?
So we call that psychosocial insomnia, and we also call that insufficient sleep time. Because you can voluntarily sleep deprive yourself. You can say, I'm going to stay up later because I have more to do.
Yeah.
So obviously having an organized approach to your day can make it easier for you to get enough sleep that you need. Some people just learning how to budget their time better, where to insert the time where they need to be focused and working on projects, where they need to put the recreational time, shuffling their schedule around will help them. Some people actually need to have structured naps. They have a busy life, they don't get enough sleep at nighttime, and they're struggling the day, where a 10-15 minute nap is going to give them a lot more energy, wake them back up. They'll be able to do the same task that could take you 2 hours to do when you're unrested. If you take a 10-15 minute nap and then try and do that task, you can do it much faster.
Yeah.
Because you're more alert. So there are ways to cope with it. Obviously, the best approach is to have usual sleep habits. And oddly, the time you wake up every day is much more important than the time you go to bed. Because your wake time is what sets the whole schedule. So if you want to get up for school at 8 every day, and you got to get out of bed at 7:30, if you get out of bed 7:30 Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, you're going to be able to do that, regardless of what your bedtime is. When you start to say, I'm going to stay up late and sleep in tomorrow, and I do that 2 or 3 times a week, and I do that week after week, that's when you lose your circadian rhythm, and you can't get up and get to class on time. And we do see a lot of patients who come to us just for that. They can't get to school. Well, what were you doing the night before? Well, I was reading, I was texting because I can't fall asleep. Well, how late did you sleep? I sleep to 10 o'clock. You can't do that. You can't do that. And we'll start a schedule where we slowly awaken them earlier and earlier every day until they can get back to an 8 o'clock wake time. And it's every day. And they say, but my friends are staying out to 2 in the morning. Your friends don't have a sleep disorder. They can get away with it. They can sleep longer and they can reset their clocks. When you're unable to get up on time for school, you have lost the ability to cheat on your sleep. You need to follow the rules.
Getting that, if you don't have enough time at night, and I understand it happens, you know, you guys got, you know, your athletics, and some teenagers have jobs, and you know, a ton of homework and whatnot. So really, you got to make the time. So if you can't do it at night, naps are okay. If you have the luxury of taking a nap after school, that's okay.
What is the ideal environment for sleep?
The sleep environment is supposed to be a quiet and comfortable place where you feel relaxed, where it's not a place where you do any activity. So the bedroom's not supposed to be the place where I play games, I read books, I play on the computer. All that should be done outside the bedroom if possible. Which is hard for teenagers because they consider their bedroom their man cave, lady cave, and that's where they have all their activities and their excitement, and they're talking on the phone. So to have the bedroom a restful place is not exactly what they usually do. That being said, I would, if you're going to do those things in your bedroom, get a desk. Do it at the desk. Do it at the desk.
That's what I
so
do.
that when you climb into the bed, it's time for bed. It's a conditioned response. Just like you ring the bell and the dog starts to salivate, when you get in the bed, you should start feeling tired. The bed needs to be comfortable. There is no particular type mattress or pillow or anything. It's just something that you're comfortable in. It needs to be dark. That's very important. So having light either from the computer, the phone, the whatever, that's not going to help. It really needs to be dark. It needs to be noise free. Okay, so some people are like, oh, I need to listen to music to help me relax and fall asleep. Music, if it doesn't have words, if it's something that's just rhythm that you can't sing to, anticipate, sing along with, that's okay, because your brain is not trying to process that. When you start singing along, guess what? That's a wakeful activity. You know, anything you have to think for is not good. You need to be pretty thoughtless. It has to be something boring to you. If it's not boring to you, you're not going to fall asleep doing it. If it's something you enjoy, you're not going to fall asleep to it. It literally has to be boring. White noise from the TV, hearing a fan, hearing the seashore, rainfall, those kind of things you tend to tune out. Those can help you sleep if you're trying to cover up outside noise or trying to clear out your mind. But your favorite TV show, it's not going to make you fall asleep. You're going to listen to the dialogue. Reading a book, that's not going to make you fall asleep. You're going to be focused on what happens to the character in the next page, you know? It just doesn't help. As far as temperature goes, the recommended temperature is about 65 degrees, 65 to 70.
At what point should someone realize that they should see a sleep specialist?
So if somebody is excessively sleepy during the day, if they can't, if they have difficulty concentrating, if they know they're not sleeping well, if they have unrefreshing sleep, if they know they snore or toss and turn, and they've tried all the traditional things, you're making sure that you are sleeping at least more than 7 hours a night. 7 up is the kind of the key term. But in different age groups, there's different requirements for sleep. So as long as you're sleeping on average, everyone's just slightly different how much sleep they need to. So as long as you're sleeping, getting sufficient or adequate amount of sleep, and you're going to bed the same time, getting up the same time every night, every morning, even on the weekends, which isn't always easy. And you're still, you've kind of done some of those things that they ask you to do. As far as sleep hygiene goes, you could use white noise to help you get to sleep, or have a bedtime routine. If you've kind of done some of the things that we're asking you to do, keep your bedroom neat, cool, quiet, reserve time, make time for sleep, really set time aside to kind of have that unwind. Everyone needs to unwind and kind of decompress from their daily activities. If you're doing all the recommended things, the National Sleep Foundation has a fantastic list of recommendations to help you get a better night's sleep. So if you've done that and you're still not quite refreshed in the morning, you're having difficulty getting up, even after you get up, can't go, or you're finding that you're getting sleepy, maybe you can get up and go, but you're feeling sleepy during the day, it's affecting your functioning, your daily living, then 100% you need to talk to the sleep doctor.
Are there any sleep disorders that teenagers are more likely to have?
There's over 100 different sleep disorders, which is surprising to a lot of people, so there's a lot against us. Teenagers specifically are at risk for it's called a circadian rhythm or disorder, or it's really a delayed phase syndrome, so that you have different shifts that are natural in life. So you have, as a teenager, you actually your body's rhythm changes, where you actually want to go to bed later and get up later. It's a natural shift that's in life. There's some environmental things that you can do to counteract that, because you know you have to get up for school whether you like it or not. So but even with that, those natural kind of shifts, that can be extreme. So you have, you know, kids, teenagers who especially that affects them, where they want to go to bed later, so they're going to bed later because their body's telling them to go to bed later, but they still have to get up in the morning. So delayed phase syndrome is one of the most common things that we see within you know, your age group. Then narcolepsy usually presents itself in the teenage years. Narcolepsy is like a chemical imbalance in the brain where you fall asleep at unwanted times during the day. So and it could be, there's a lot of overlap within the sleep disorders. So if you find that you're falling asleep during the day, it could be sleep deprivation. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be narcolepsy. But there's some signs and things that if you're experiencing those symptoms, it means you need to talk to the doctor about.
Okay, thanks.
What recommendations do you have for activities in the hour before going to sleep?
Avoiding the electronics. The part of your brain that stimulates you to be awake is located right behind your eyes. So if you, and especially the lights from your phone, from your computer, from your tablet, they have this very dynamic light, and your brain is very susceptible to blue light especially. So even if you're exhausted and drained, you know, that light in your eyes will actually stimulate your brain, and it suppresses what's called your melatonin production. So your melatonin is what makes you sleepy. A lot of people take it over the counter. You know, it's not recommended to take anything without talking to your doctor first. A lot of people take it because they're like, oh, I'm not sleepy at night, not realizing that they're not sleepy at night because their body's not doing, you know, not making its own melatonin because of the bright lights, whether it's just, you know, being exposed to bright lights in the house, or having, you know, watching TV, or having your phone or something right before bedtime. So most people won't do it just because it's inconvenient, but if you can, about an hour before bedtime, turn off all the TV, all the electronics, try to avoid bright lights right before bedtime. Excuse me. And then set some time aside to unwind. So reading is great. If you read on a tablet or Kindle, they even have screen, if it doesn't have it. I know the iPhone has an automatic dimmer.
I have a Nook that, like, it doesn't have, like, you know, that
the backlighting.
Screen.
Exactly. So yeah, so those are okay. If reading a book is best because there's no, you know, you're not looking directly into any light source. Even it could be anything. Everybody's different. So it could be, you know, taking a shower right before bed, or saying, you know, I know it sounds silly to say meditation, but if you just do some deep breathing, or, you know, relaxation techniques right before bedtime, if you just take that time for yourself, it does not have to be a whole production. It could be, you know, 5 or 10 minutes just to unwind, just to take some time for yourself.